If you are the head of a very successful business or multi-generational family, the chances are you have had to solve a lot of problems, but as a result, they then problem solve for their children and they don't give them, the space to learn that on their own.
Hello and welcome to the FT Studios in London for this latest episode of PWM Family Matters. Today I'm joined by Jessica McGawley, founder of Dallington Associates, a mentoring firm that supports young people from ultra-wealthy families and multi-generational family businesses. Jessica, it's great to have you here.
Thanks for having me.
Jessica, young people born into wealth are often perceived as privileged and carefree, but their reality can be far more complex. What are the most common challenges they face?
The challenges differ from generation to generation, from culture, even birth order, depending where you are. But the most common challenges I see are a huge amount of expectation and pressure. Some of that is internal, put on themselves, and some of it is external, of course. Not wanting to be perceived as a Nepo baby or one of those titles. And every room you walk into, everyone introduces you as the son or daughter of your parents. That can be quite difficult when you're trying to find your own path. There's also a great deal of isolation and loneliness that comes in this group. Not only do you feel your experiences are unique, which they are, but they're not things that necessarily people have empathy for. So there's a lot of isolation in that.
So how do you go about structuring a personalised programme for each mentee?
So on the one side, all of our mentoring programmes are grounded in a core curriculum that we have devised specifically for this group. So if you are a teenager or a 20-something from an ultra-net worth or multi-generational business family, you need a certain skill set. It's not to say that other people don't need that, but if your family is responsible for, let's say, 30,000 people that you're hiring in their company, you need to understand how to manage the perception of privilege, the psychology of money, how to make difficult decisions with your siblings and cousins as the generations get bigger. And so we have a curriculum based on that. And then alongside that comes the one-to-one support. Some of that is generally the day-to-day growing pains of being a teenager and a 20-something and helping them understand what is normal in this age and what goes beyond that based on their unique circumstances.
And how important is it to work with parents?
We didn't work with parents so much in the early years, but now 10 years in, it's a significant part of the work that we do, because if you're not including parents and also empowering them to have these conversations that we're having, at Dallington, in their home settings, around their kitchen tables, together, in very comfortable environments, then the work, it doesn't last beyond us. And we're very key that we are a temporary partner in our family's journeys and that it should continue long after we're gone. The age group I look after are very much in that transitional teens to 20s, which is a normal period of wanting space from your parents and your authority figures. That's just normal. Our programme is typically 18 to 24 months, so that's a good amount of time to let them work a lot of this out themselves. So a lot of the parents we work with are not necessarily used to getting feedback in relation to their family dynamics, but the ones that are, my goodness, that the changes they can make are significant.
What would you say are the most common mistakes that parents make? How can they support their children better?
The biggest mistake they make is safeguarding and safety nets. If you are the head of a very successful business or multi-generational family, the chances are you have had to solve a lot of problems. But as a result, they then problem solve for their children and they don't give them, the space to learn that on their own. So I'd say definitely stepping back and allowing them to do that. I think some of the most complications are in G1 to G2. Take that with a pinch of salt because, of course, the further the generations, the more people you have, greater complexity by all means. But G1 have typically are self-made. They will have come from very different circumstances, worked many jobs, probably not gone to tertiary education, failed a great deal, and their response to that is to provide a different life for the next generation, one where there is maybe private education, a lot of support, a lot of safeguarding, but in doing so, often with best intention, they remove some of the natural and necessary processes of learning how to stand up and face resilience and go through difficult challenges.
How do you help these younger people prepare for real world situations like going to university or joining the family business? Are there specific tools or techniques that you use?
So for example, if they are writing a job application, a UCAS application, they're trying to work out their basic budget, the things that everybody should be able to do themselves, we make sure that we are there alongside them, but not doing it for them. So that's really important, because if you can learn to do those small problem solving exercises, you can build on that. But a big part of it is helping them understand if there has been a failure, if they have made a mistake, how they recover from it. That's number one.
So how do you know when your work with a young person is truly finished? What does success look like at the end of the mentoring journey?
We have a G3 male, 19, who seemingly, when he comes to us, is unengaged in life. He is not doing anything, he's not at university, he's not got a job, he seems completely disconnected. This looks like laziness, it looks like he can't be bothered. It's not the case. There's a significant amount of pressure on him, and his parents have such status that, as he puts it, he's in the shadow of them. So why bother? So through our work, through the curriculum, through encouraging him to find his own path, having family sessions where he can voice this, he then is able to take up some accountability and make action. At the end of our work, when he graduated us, he had a job, he'd moved out of the family home, and that was a good thing, because he had his own space and could actually go back to his family and develop a better relationship with them as an adult child, not a child with parents in that respect.
How do families typically find their way to Dallington? Are your clients mostly referred by advisors, or do they come directly to you?
Families very kindly recommend us from family to family, but we are increasingly working with advisors. They are family offices, multifamily offices, lawyers, family lawyers, but even psychiatrists and education consultants. Those who do recommend us really understand the power of collaboration. I often say, if it takes a village to raise a child, is that old saying, then we are the rising generation's village, and we need to work together. And, when we do that, our clients get the very best of all of us.
Many private banks now say they are increasingly supporting clients on the emotional side, organizing family meetings, addressing intergenerational dynamics. Where do you see the line between what a private bank can realistically offer in this space, in the generational well-being, and when it's time to bring in more specialized external support?
For example, if you saw tax advice on my website, it should raise a red flag, in the same way that people who are financially and legally trained might not be best placed to having some of these more emotional discussions, just in the way that financial advisors, tax advisors have their own qualifications, supervision, regulation, so do we. So I think it's actually important that they don't put themselves or their relationship with their client at risk. Of course, if that's a general discussion around the structure of the family and the roles within that, that's one thing. But if we're talking about, emotional relationships and how the individuals in that family relate to each other and the business, that should be someone external.
But do you think wealth managers, private bankers, should be better equipped to recognize emotional or psychological red flags in the younger generation?
These advisors are some of the most trusted people in the room, and they have very long-standing relationships with their clients. It's right that they should listen to them, but I often advise in this capacity now on how to develop that emotional literacy. We talk a lot about financial literacy, but it's important that advisors have the emotional literacy to be able to signpost and support their clients.
Do you expect a growing demand for family wealth consulting and next-gen mentoring in Europe?
Definitely. Well, we can see that the US are already well ahead of this, and it's pretty established. Many of the private banks in the US actually have in-house psychologists and advisors in this space, and so I am hopeful that we are also moving in that direction.
And do you think wealth managers see firms like yours as collaborators or competitors?
There's absolutely nothing competitive, because we're not trying to do anything that they are, and most of them are increasingly collaborative. But my experience has been it is down to the individual, because as we know, these are big firms, big institutions a lot of the time, and it's about finding the person who is open to this work. And a lot of the time, they are the more emotionally literate and intelligent individuals themselves. They have already probably done a bit of their own work and understand family dynamics, and that's why they want to bring that help for their client.
Do you think that empowering young people with wealth can not only help them succeed, but also make a real difference in their society or environment around them?
You are set to inherit, whether or not that's a business or if that's just assets, you are likely to have influence in one way or another. If you're not well supported, understood, and if there isn't actually empathy for your situation and the pressure that that brings, it can become passive. This is when we get issues of entitlement or addiction even. We have really got to be careful that we are supporting this group because they have the potential for great influence, and there is so much I learn on a daily basis from the young individuals I work from.
Even when it comes to philanthropy or impact investing.
I take that as a standard now, that will be something that they are going to be involved in. And in the same way that we're seeing so many inheritors leave their current financial advisors, their parents' advisors, the same is happening also in philanthropy. They don't necessarily want to join or support the foundation that they don't believe in. It's not because they don't see the benefit in it, but they have different causes that they're passionate about. And I think we have to bridge that, because it's a shame to pull the resources, but we have to also hear what matters to them and who they are.
Jessica, it's been a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for sharing your invaluable insights with us.
Thank you for having me.